Hello, chat. You guys there? Let's see. We got 5 watching. We're going to start here in a few minutes. I'm just going to wait on Owen. Um, if you guys actually haven't been following me, or you've only been watching the dump on my channel, I'm a very dead horse. I'm not, not unknown archive. Hello, S Man Speaks. Yes, capitalism for the win. So I guess a few quick things before I kind of get started. I've actually left the Hangout link. If any of you guys want to hop in for a minute before we get started, it's over in my Discord. I'm going to be doing a few new things with the channel. I'm going to be doing. I'm actually going to be doing another debate tomorrow with. I think it's Liberty. Sorry, let me remember his name. The Liberal Sanity Project. So that'll be fun. We're going to be talking about, I guess, libertarianism, the non-aggression principle, and some stuff like that. This isn't going to be exactly one of my more fun, hang out and make jokes kind of stream, but it should still be entertaining, and I think you'll still enjoy it. I've got a couple of shorter videos coming up soon that I've just kind of been working on. Just some new kind of a new kind of avenue for me. So I've got. I think we have people. But I guess that's it. And other than the 2 debates and some a secret show I'm starting soon, the new show, the I guess the dump is probably the next thing that'll show up, and that'll be on Monday night. So, check my Discord if you want on real quick. What's up, S Man?
Not much. Just I saw you were live, and I'm like, oh boy, Very Dead Horses live. I hope you're probably gonna need some alcohol to deal with it. I'm sorry.
Well, I've been up a really long time, so I work night shifts. So I got home last night and got enough time I had to wake up early this morning to go work on a project over at my dad's house. I've been working on some guitar related stuff. So I've got a speaker cabinet and some stuff that I'm building kind of from scratch. And I've been I'm like, this is going to be the last weekend I'm over there working on this thing. So that's what I woke up to do this morning. And then I'm like, well, I've got to come home and do this. And then tomorrow I'll probably be doing the same thing, debate, and then going to work on that again. So
yeah, Data Wasteland says libertarians are Republicans with imagination. Well, if that's the case, then I think I'll probably just take that with a badge of honor. Then I mean, this, but I mean, I've not seen the full debate between you and Owen, but my God, if you, like, I don't know if you've seen any of his debates with me, but they're the definition of like a shit show, essentially. And
well, I've the only other one I've had with Owen was about Antifa about like 6 months ago. So it's been a minute.
Yeah, and I mean, I can understand where some of the people come from and they're like, why they like Antifa, but it's like they're way too extreme and they're damaging other people's property. And to me, that's just I've raised. You wouldn't want someone to come into your house and do that, so you can't do that to other people's stuff. So,
Yeah. So tonight, when I was asking Owen what he wanted to talk about, because I just mentioned to him, hey, he had some stream that he let me on the other day. I'm not really sure what the actual topic started out about, but ended up talking about capitalism because that's what he does.
Capitalism.
That's pretty good. So when when we were looking at topics, I brought up some. He didn't. Some, I brought up a lot, and some he didn't quite seem to be too interested in. So what we're going to do instead tonight is we're going to put it more around the idea of what he wants, what his society would be, what he, because he's always instead of bashing capitalism, I kind of want to know what it is that he thinks that he can do, or not he specifically, but he thinks that society can do to be better as far as his ideal society. So that's what we're doing tonight.
Oh yeah, because I had him on a stream of mine about a little over a month ago, where basically I lined out like the type of society I want, the type of laws I would like to have in place, and he kept giving criticisms of it, and that was fine. And at some point he seemed like he was just dismissing it, but and he reposted the stream to his channel, and his fans were like, "These guys are getting angry because you're explaining how capitalism works," and I'm like, no, I was getting a little irritated that he was being really dismissive. Like, it's fine if he criticizes the type of government and type of society I want, but when he's just dismissing it and he's like, but the problem is capitalism, man. It's like, at that point, I just have to laugh.
Well, let's not get too dismissive just yet.
Yeah,
I'm planning on having some questions from the audience towards the end, I guess. What by the way, I guess everybody who's actually watching right now, go ahead and share this out, hit the like button if you would. Smash that subscribe button.
A buddy of mine on here, Humane Mind, he pointed it out rightly that when you think about it, it's like if people don't know how to like hit the like and subscribe and all that stuff, how'd they find the video?
Oh no, I've got Top Chat on. Damn it. I'm probably missing. No, nobody's here. That's probably because I told everybody, I was like, hey, this is going to start at 6 p.m. and it's like almost 7 p.m. So, so let's see. Here we go.
I'm going to tweet out your video.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
I'm going to post it in my Twitter group chat. So
go for that. Do that. Let's see who we got here. What's his name? Data Wasteland. If you are in my Discord, you're more than welcome to pop in here for a minute and until we get Owen.
Yep, and then I'm gonna bounce before he causes me to head desk. Like no head desk has ever happened.
Yeah, so yeah, just anybody who wants to. That's where the link will be. And when he gets here, I would suggest that you bounce.
I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have to tell him. I'm pretty sure they'll just be like, and we're out. I mean, he's an okay guy. It's just sometimes like you really got to like take notes of what he says. Because I've had to, considering like how some of the debates go, and if you don't, you're gonna be like in an uphill battle of trying to remember everything he says. So, but
okay.
so how'd you start off your YouTube channel? Because it was he tweeted out your video, and I'm like, I don't know who A Very Dead Horse is. I'll check out his channel. I'm like, this guy's all right.
Thanks, man. I just I actually had planned on doing it for a really long time, and finally, Failure Accomplished kind of convinced me to do it because I kept bugging him. I'm like, hey, what can I do if I do this? Because he does a lot of the things like my normal videos aren't necessarily. I just basically stream, but my normal streams are more or less hangouts, talking about news and, drinking, looking at dumb things. Let's see. So,
I mean, if you look at communism, you're technically looking at a dumb thing.
That's true.
But yeah,
that's another thing. I am going to be doing a chill and chill stream, probably tomorrow night, provided I get an adequate amount of sleep.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm running on about 3 hours. So,
Oh yeah, that sometimes I know how that feeling goes because on Monday I only got like 4 hours of sleep, and that was because the neighbor's dog was barking all night, and it's like I love dogs, but if we could just if they could just either get the dog sent to the pound for a day or something, or they could just call a cop and say, hey, this neighbor's dog is barking a lot. But I love dogs too much to do that, so I was willing to. And I'm out of here. So you two boys have fun. And until next time.
all right, have a good man. What's going on, man? What's going on, Owen?
Hello. Is the audio working?
Yeah, we're good, man. I've just been sitting here talking to the chat for a little bit. I guess go ahead and share everything out.
Apologies for being late. I was simply some stuff came up, so
yeah. So let's see. Liberal sanity and says the lack of debate disturbs me.
Why is the title a Socialist Utopia?
Well, we were going to talk about what your idea of your socialist utopia is. Well, that's the kind of the idea.
Who said utopia?
Well, I mean, okay, I'll change it later to
you
society.
can call the title what you want. I just
to me, it's a little utopian. Utopian. That's why I titled it as such.
Well, it's got to be better than how it is at the moment. But anyway, where do you want me to start? Apologies if I sound a little bit hoarse. I'm a little bit ill, so.
Wow. Yeah, man. Just okay. Well, okay. I guess let me go ahead and frame this out. So I do follow you. Well, obviously, I follow you on Twitter because we argue quite a bit. But to people who don't know that, Owen tweets a lot of things about capitalism, and we've kind of talked about it, and I've seen him debate capitalism quite a few times. So rather than necessarily start out talking about capitalism, I figure we could, you could describe what you would rather have and how much better it would work, and what, just your basic, if you have a basic framework of what your socialist society would look like.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll give it a go. Right. So essentially, the primary differences between capitalism and socialism come from the fact that one society is run privately, and thus the society is run for individuals by individuals, with the intention of making as much profit as you can to, accrue as much capital as you can. And naturally, this leads to a very individualistic society, one in which powerful entities hold control over the rest of society. And as we see under capitalism, the lives of the wealthy dominating the lives of the not so wealthy. Under a socialist society, the means of production, namely, food, energy, work, machines, all the various sectors of society come under societal control. So the workers of the world are able to self-govern and maintain themselves without the need of a ruling class taking and extracting profit and labor value from them and stuff. So instead of a society ran for, corporations and ran for the wealthy to operate how they wish, a society of which people can, be free to do as they wish and be free without the labor without the capitalist extracting labor profit from them and stuff arises. For instance, food is a very good example of something that can be massively improved, or food distribution rather, under a socialist system. So at the moment, there are millions of people starving across the globe. Under socialism, you can have the amount of food there is, which is enough to feed everyone, distributed fairly. So you don't see anyone starving. Food isn't just binned because the capitalists can't sell it. Food is owned by everyone, and thus everyone else, everyone who needs food, everyone is able to access it. Same with land. There's enough land for everyone to have a home, and a decent home at that, not just some shack, a proper nice house. But because of the way land is distributed, because of the fact that wealthy people own so much, because of the fact that landlords buy up property and price out people from owning their own home, that's not the case. And we have homelessness. We have people unable to afford healthcare because of their rent. We have just generally abhorrent conditions that would be scrapped under a socialist system where everyone has a home, where everyone is free to live where they wish, where people aren't subject to the unfair and abusive rent system. I could go on, but I feel like I should let you interject.
No, it's fine, man. I'm just letting you get all of what you need out so we can kind of get to the parts that we need to get to. So if you've got anything else, let's just go ahead.
Oh, there's loads. I could be talking about this all day.
I'm sure you could.
I mean, I'm just reading the comments in the chat, and it's
oh my gosh.
Well,
William, that's a little harsh, William. Oh God.
What kind of McDonald's fail to please a woman, Owen MacDonald? I mean, I would say that's a dead joke, but I mean, it's hardly as though the bar was set very high to begin with. No, but I'm reading the Batman's earlier comments. That's not capitalism he's describing. That's a corporate totalitarianism. It's like, well, what would they describe capitalism as?
Well, okay. Let's before we get into that, what I want to get to where you want to go. What do you think is the first step?
Well, we need to, you got to have class consciousness. You got to have people recognizing that capitalism is the problem that predominates the errors and issues in the world. So, global warming. Why is environmental change happening at such a devastating rate? Why are corporations dumping waste into the environment? Why is fossil fuel consumption not being addressed, despite the fact that it's going to have serious ecological effects on the planet? And that comes down to the fact that we value profit over all else. The whole point of capitalism is to make profit from commodities to accrue more capital. So why aren't corporations and why aren't entities going to be discarding environmental well-being in favor of their own profits?
Okay, so just the quick answer was make people more conscious. Sorry,
I mean, I understand that you want it not necessarily simplified, but condensed down to a shorter answer. But I think these things, you got to have nuance. It's like, I think a common.
We'll get more in depth here in a little bit. I'm just trying to get kind of an idea.
But what's the point if we're not gonna, discuss?
Well, I mean, we'll be here for a while. So I just want the condensed soup version for the time being. So other than that, because there's probably going to be a lot of people who are like, no, I like my job. I like how things are. I like, I like my stuff. I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to do this. How are you going to make them do that?
Well, it's not about making them do that. I mean, for instance, I'm sure there are plenty of people in this chat who have jobs and who think, yeah, my life's all right. I don't want to get rid of capitalism. But they need to.
So far, so.
Sorry?
Go ahead. I said, never mind. Go ahead.
And they, they can be told that the world could be much fairer, and also, made to recognise that just because their life is, supposedly all right, doesn't mean that makes it okay for the rest of the planet. So, for instance, someone who, say, I'm not trying to think of a job that someone in this chat may have. I don't know, let's say tech support or something. They've got a comfortable job as a tech support person. They're making a decent wage. They can afford some time and money on luxuries and stuff. And they're thinking, yeah, my life's all right. I own my own home. I'm, well, actually, no, probably wouldn't own my own home. I've got a comfortable life. I'm all right. Why should things change? Their labor, the service they provide to society is being profited off by their capitalism. Sorry, that's what we're saying, but it's being profited off by the capitalist, the person who essentially forces the worker to sell their labor in order to gain access to the basic elements of society, so food, land, energy, etc. There's no reason for this to be. People should be able to own their own labor, to be able to see the produce of their labor, and thus not have to pay rent, not have to pay stuff to people who own society over nothing, essentially. The person working in this role, they don't receive the full value of their labor. They don't receive a fair return for what they put in. Without their labor, the capitalist can't, their business doesn't exist. Their wealth is entirely comprised of the labor of others, yet it's the workers who are at the bottom end of the exploitation, and the capitalist who profits off, doing nothing essentially themselves. I don't
know about that, but
it's true, isn't it? Because it doesn't matter how much, if the capitalist could, they could be some, great CEO who trots around the office, helping everyone out, everyone loves him, but that doesn't change the fact that if they're profiting off the labor, they're benefiting at the expense of, everyone else. They are actively stealing the value of the labor,
well, hold on.
Contributed to their company.
So getting back to because we're going to try and frame everything first before we go into detail. So other than just making people more aware of capitalism and what's of what you say the bad parts of capitalism are and all that other stuff, how are you going to, because the way you've explained it before, you made it sound like you wanted to get rid of like all governments, right? Is that more or less true, or am I on the right page here?
The state as it exists today, yeah, we want to,
get rid of all of them. Okay.
Sorry?
And as long as one of them is still standing, and that one's the capitalist one, how are you going to compete? I don't really know.
What do you mean? Like,
well, okay, so I mean, the capitalist society, whichever one is still standing in this world, how is that one going to? How are you going to keep the socialist society from becoming capitalist? How are you going to? How are they going to trade? How are they going to?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the whole point of societal revolution and change is to be all-encompassing. So you can't have a society of total worker ownership if you still have capitalist economies existing, because it's in the best interest of those capitalist nations to try and quash the left-wing left-wing replacement system. So for instance, you only have to look at the history of the planet to sort of see that any time you see communities and groups of people trying to move away from capitalism, imperialist forces from America, try and crush them. So, for instance, in Chile, where they were heading quite left-wing with some of their policies, and then the US backs a fascist coup, and democracy's overthrown. And I can sit here all day listing off countries America has stepped in to prevent the construction of capitalism.
But we're talking about capitalism in general, not a specific company or a specific country, rather. Sorry.
But it's all related, though. I mean, you asked me, how
vaguely. Yes, vaguely.
It's directly related, because a capitalist nation that exists in a world of growing socialist societies is one that is going to try and crush them no matter what. Do you see that?
Yeah, but we need. What I'm asking is, is the reason why I framed it as utopia, is because every time any person who claims to be a socialist or a communist or anything of the sort tries to do what you're advocating, that it just ends up as something you wouldn't classify as socialism or communism or anything like that. And the I guess the bigger problem is that they're claiming that they're communist or socialist, and then they're trying to get to the society that you want, and yet they've all failed. So my question is like how are you going to how are things going to be different if you had complete control?
I mean, firstly, that
if you were king of the socialist world,
and that sort of if I was a king of the socialist world, it wouldn't be socialist, would it? Because that's not equality, is it?
That's the point. But anyway,
but, you know,
just how.
But I think it's important.
What are they doing wrong? What would you do to if you could, I guess, be in any one of these freaking countries that have gone communist or socialist or whatever, and tell them, hey, don't do this, do that, don't do this, and what would you tell them, and how would it be different?
Right. So I think we need to firstly go back to what you were saying about quote unquote, you know, people trying to make socialist countries and then them always failing and stuff, because it's you know, it's a bit more nuanced than the description you gave. So
I mean, they're all trying to start a revolution, man. They're all going to overthrow the government and do their own thing. And
but you know, it's not the that's the quite simplistic view of that. To simply look at
pretty simplistic way of thinking, in my opinion.
Look at the history of the world, and to say, you know, oh well, you know, socialism always ends in disaster, so you can't try it, is ignorant of the conditions that you know.
Let me give you.
So, for instance, if you'd let me actually finish, Soviet Russia, the peasants wanted to overthrow the clearly brutal and awful regime of the Tsar. You know, quite a justified thing to do. You know, the peasants don't want to be having to serve a exploitative and brutal autocratic system. However, the revolution took place in a state. It took place in one state, and it took place in conditions that meant that the revolution was contained to that state, which subsequently meant the you know, the revolution was led by the army, Trotsky's Red Army and stuff. And eventually that evolved into, you know, Stalinist Russia. Stalin had control once Lenin died, removed all the people saying that no, this isn't at all what the ideas of socialism were meant to be. And yeah, Stalin kept the name because of course he does. A dictator is always going to, you know, lie and feed propaganda to their people. So of course Stalin's going to say, yeah, you know, we're a socialist country, we're all equal. But in reality, you know, it was anything but that. It was never. Stalin had no intention of passing over control to the workers, or indeed having any real democracy at all. He had no intention of abolishing class, because, you know, there was clear divisions between the political class and the workers, and that's what's going to happen if you know, allow it to be a simple revolution within a state. You're going to see the powerful body in control of weapons and stuff take over, and thus control that nation and run it essentially as a state capitalist nation. So, like, you know, private property was still a thing just for members of the state. So to draw it back to what you were saying about, you know, how revolution is always going to lead to that, it ignores the key two factors, I think. Is that firstly, they've all been confined to a state, and secondly, they've all they've been confined to a single state, which has led to corruption because of the, you know, isolation of the revolution, which is influenced by the imperialist and anti-communist policies of nations like America, like, you know, one of the most powerful nations, no, the most powerful nation on the planet. And anytime a country starts to move away from capitalism, the US does what it can to quash it, because, you know, if people start realizing that no, we don't have to have a capitalist system, what's that going to do to American capitalists, the wealthy? That's going to essentially render them as being overthrown, as something that can be removed, and society can work better without them. So America does what it can to crush them. So, for instance, it's why they regularly use the UN and the IMF and the World Bank to stop African nations and other third world nations from gaining control of their own economies instead of having private economies where American corporations can just do as they wish, basically. Which is why nations like Ghana, for instance, suffered massive economic disasters because of direct US sanctions against them when they refused to privatize their land. We can look at Guatemala and El Salvador, nations which tried to hand land back to the workers instead of corporations, and then had their governments overthrown because America didn't like a non-capitalist or not capitalist leaning country. You got to have a revolution that encompasses the entire planet without any corner left in the grips of capitalism if you want it to work, which is why revolutions contained to a single nation aren't going to work, because you've got that internal socialism within. It's not going to be socialism if it's still got those borders, those encompassed by capitalism. And secondly, it's in the interest of capitalism to try and stop it from happening.
Okay. I'm sorry. You just kind of stopped and I heard chirping in the background.
Sorry?
I said you just kind of stopped there for a second. I thought you were going to continue, but there was chirping in the background. Sorry, it kind of threw me off for a second.
It's all
right. Let's see. No. Okay. But so I think you kind of missed the question. My question is how exactly how do you expect it to catch on, I guess, is the better question. How do you expect it to catch on? I think
what do you mean catch on? Like, well, as in
it has to catch on, right?
No, I mean, if you're asking you, what do you mean? Like, as in people want it, or do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, it has. Yeah, there's got to be a reason. I mean, there's got to be a something to make them want to say screw this capitalism stuff. Let's start all over. So
it's not starting all over. It's not like we're going to literally, like, if the revolution happened tomorrow, it's not like everything would just be destroyed and we'd have like sticks and stuff. Like, the whole point.
I don't know, man. I've seen some of the streets after Antifa got through with them, so I can imagine what things might look like after
Starbucks is gone. Oh no, what a tragedy.
Hey, what did Starbucks ever do to those people?
What did Starbucks do to? How do you think Starbucks gets?
Because I imagine they were there probably the day before getting coffee.
How do you think coffee gets to the point where it's just in a cup for you to drink? Yeah. How do you think the workers are treated for Starbucks to be worth the billions that it is?
Because people want it, man. People want their burnt kind of coffee. That's what people like.
People want workers.
But listen, this is what I'm trying to get from you. To get to overthrow capitalism, you're gonna have to convince everyone, or almost everyone, that fuck Starbucks, fuck Best Buy, fuck all these other places that they like, that doing things that they enjoy, or hey, I know you want to sell your property, but now your property is not your property anymore, it's our property, and you get to stay in it. And if you got extra properties, they're no longer yours, or whatever. How is that supposed to work? I don't. This is what I'm not grasping. I'm not getting the whole everyone deciding, hey, screw this. We're gonna just go and fuck off and be socialists. I'm sorry. I don't mean to say it so bluntly like that. I'm just trying to get to the point where it's like how you convince everyone who's having a good life, who's people who are getting, lifted out of poverty, or like, oh man, I just got my first good job because I worked really hard and I went to all these interviews and I finally got a promotion because I've been busting my ass working, extra overtime and, trying to show off to my boss. How are you going to convince all of those people that, this capitalism is bullshit and we got to get rid of it so that we can live in a commune and share everything? And, that's what I'm trying to get at. I mean, I don't think you have a way to convince people. That's why I'm saying it's a utopia, because it won't happen. Because let me give you an example.
You said like 5 things. Do you want to
Sure, I'll let you go. Just try and be concise with them. Just.
But could you ask me one question then instead of 5?
I'm sorry. It all falls under how are you going to brainwash people that they don't brainwash people into not liking what they like and giving up all of what they have to go or
is brainwash them to ask what?
How are you going to get them to give up and say, no, I don't want to, this is selfish. I don't want to work for my boss anymore, even though he's giving me money, and, making me more money than I can make by myself. And I'm going to go and go with these other people and start this socialist society is what I'm asking.
Okay.
How are you going to brainwash people to do that if they're, good?
Okay. I get it. All right.
Sorry, that's the Best Buy and the all that other stuff. That all falls into the thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. So essentially, the ideas and rhetoric and sort of narrative you presented here is not true of the situation people face in society today. You've painted this idea that people go to work and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna work hard and my boss is gonna give me a nice promotion and I'm gonna earn my way into.
Well, not everybody, but continue.
Not most people. Have you seen the the conditions people have to work in? Certainly in America as well. I mean, Britain's bad enough, but America. Oof. But
I don't know what you're talking about. Continue.
In terms of convincing people, I mean, look at the lived conditions that people are going through. Millions of people in America, for instance, are having to miss meals to afford their rent. Millions of people in my country are seriously, missing out on healthcare because the government is defunding, the system is giving it more towards privatization to make it worse, to make it like America, where people literally can't access their healthcare because they can't afford it. We're on the brink of environmental disasters. Already, we're seeing the climate of the planet worsen, and the global temperature move up. To answer your question, the Batman, this is hotspot, really. I'm 19.
Oh, I was close. I figured you were. I know you were younger, but I didn't remember exactly how old. So
anyway, so for instance, we're seeing that the functions of society fundamentally do not work. Like you can look at the state of U.S. transportation. Where bus services are abysmal, basically because they're privately run.
Because everyone has a car.
But do they?
Unless you're in New York. Unless you're, huh?
Does everyone have a car?
Most people have a car, unless they live in like New York or LA.
Unless they live in cities, which are the most populated areas and where most of the jobs are.
No, unless they live in like a mega populated area, like for instance,
of which there are a few in America.
There's a few. I mean, when I say mega populated, I mean New York, LA, and like
LA, Chicago, San Francisco,
maybe Chicago. And so, but other than that, it's like everybody has a car. Everybody drives to where they commute.
That's not true, though, is it? That's just not true. Do you think why do you think people, are stuck often in the same neighborhoods and same areas that they were born in and they've grown up in and stuff? You're presenting a very alluring, nice image of capitalism. You're making talk of change.
You don't
Like,
say.
they want to bring back the dark ages, but you're ignoring the conditions that people live under, like today. You're ignoring.
Well, I'm not saying everything is sunshine or rainbows, but I highly you don't think everything would be sunshine and rainbows under your socialist society, do you? I mean, I wouldn't think you would.
No one said sunshine and rainbows, but basic improvement from this system. Yeah, absolutely. It's like no. The thing is, lots of people want to present people on the far left as, oh, we just want to smash everything up and that'll be it, and just have a party and stuff. In reality, we're talking about fundamental improvements to society, a society where everyone is able to have a healthy life, where people are given food and land, and there's no profiteering, leeching parasite class like the capitalists, who they control society based on their own terms. They force workers into selling their labor for them to profit off, based on the fact that they own all the food and the land and the energy, and thus the worker, to access those things, has to sell their labor. They don't have to sell their labor. They're free not to work for the capitalist, but then they can't afford food or land or water, and they'll die. So the choice is made for them. They have to work, otherwise they die. Do you understand that? Do you see that?
I know, just the way you said, and they'll die.
Well, they will. What happens if you don't have food?
The way that I'm just gonna quickly explain the way my brain works. When people are explaining things, I think in cartoons. So just picture that whatever you will. What I keep getting this question from the chat, and I was going to wait on it, but
why don't you invite people in from the chat into the hangout?
I can. I was planning on doing that towards the end. But I kind of wanted to do
it from now, because then it's just like more direct. Because I'm reading the chat here, and there's just like loads of just not correct things been written. And rather than, obviously, if I'm trying,
but we're trying to get the basics down. When I think that we're starting to dry up on ideas and stuff, then I'll pop that in. The link is in my Discord. So if you'll go towards that, I'm sure probably most of you are in my Discord. If not, I can
post it in the chat.
Actually, I think I did. It's up there, but it's earlier up in the chat.
It might have disappeared, so you might have to post it again.
Okay. Well,
but going back to what you said about the basics, I feel as though we're not really seeing things on the same level. Like I just think
of course
we need to be more nuanced. We need to address the questions to become. Like, you're sort of condensing stuff down to very basic terms, and the fact that the whole framework is framed as, people like their coffee, why do you want this utopia? How are you going to convince people to give up their nice lives for socialism and stuff? And it's like, it's how are we going to have a conversation of any like basis or resonance if we're constantly going back to this stuff? I mean, even the people in the chat.
Well, you have to, because
you're not even like
you ignore all of what I'm trying to explain. Is you ignore all of the details. You ignore all of the you ignore all of the things that people like, the things that people enjoy, and the things that help.
You've ignored the conditions that I describe under capitalism. You say, "Oh, well, it's it's not that bad, or it's not happening, or people like their coffee as a justification for the process that Starbucks."
In America, we have even our poor, by global standards, are in the top 1%. So
what does that say? That people who are miserable and suffering and in terrible conditions are still the best people in the world.
That even if you're miserable here, you got a phone, a TV, your stuff's paid for, you're on, if there's welfare programs for you. There's all this stuff.
Have you seen how pitiful welfare programs are?
I funny
awful.
you should say that. I know lots of people that have been on welfare, and I know lots of people who've taken advantage of that system, and they lived better than I did for quite a long time. So,
well, I also know people on benefits in America and in my own country, and I can safely say that's not the case. One just joined this video call.
Hey, Godbother. One second, buddy. 1 second, Mick. No, so like, I even know people who sell their benefits and get money and buy things for people.
How do they sell their benefits and get money?
Oh, well, easily they let people use their card. There's no identification necessary to use your Snap or your Snap or Wix type of stuff, so they can go in and basically buy stuff for people. The
thing is, though, that's not even true, though, is it? Because there's plenty of people on benefits who do have those cards and are only able to buy stuff at the specific places that benefits.
But but here, listen,
food stamps and stuff.
Their food stamps are taken at restaurants now, and they're you can buy. What I'm saying is, you can go and I know a friend of mine, or old roommate of mine, who he let one of our other friends stay over in exchange for groceries, and so they buy groceries, and it's just a different form of currency. They use it to.
How does that show that benefits are livable and fair?
Well, they get enough for them to survive, and then more. So that's what I'm trying to explain to you. I mean, there's statistically you can, if you just happen to fit it. There's certain things, like I'm trying to remember the exact study, and I'm probably going to butcher it because I can't remember. You can actually accumulate about $50,000 worth of benefits a year just from not working and being on special programs. I mean, you can. Seriously, I'm not joking. But
so which ones?
That's why I didn't want to bring it up. But I can look that up real quick. Godmother, you got something for him?
Yeah, I do. It always amazes me when you hear these juvenile pseudo-intellectuals who are stuck in a university being brainwashed with all this socialist utopia bullshit.
Okay.
They've never done anything.
Hold on.
You've never had a real job. You've never had to get up before the sun's up to do hard work. You've never had to see your hard-earned money get sucked out as taxes to pay for all these deadbeats who sleep in and smoke bongs all day long, and they fucking demand more. They want more of your taxes for their fucking illegitimate bastard children, just so they keep getting more fucking welfare checks. I mean, do you have any idea what hard work is like? Do you even know what it's all about, getting the fucking shit smashed out of you by machinery? No, and you think that you fucking know everything, do you? You think you have all of the answers, and you think wealth spreading is the way to do it. You are an absolute idiot, because I had fucking friends from school that I disassociated with because they all demanded I drive their lazy asses around because, oh, you've got a job, you're the one with the car, you're fucking got to drive me here, there, and everywhere. And fuck you, cunts, you commie lazy bastard. So what the fuck makes you think, with your pseudo-intellectual university fucking indoctrinated parroting bullshit, that your fucking socialist utopia is right? Because quite frankly, you are a clueless fucking cunt who is as dumb as dog shit.
Easy there, buddy.
You sound delightful, Godfather. Can I just draw your attention to something you wrote earlier? The IMF is a socialist wealth spread run by Jews. Is that the indoctrination you're talking about that I have, or is that something you came up with?
No, it's a fact. It's
not a fact, though, is it? It's not a fact, is it?
It is a fucking fact, you pseudo-intellectual fucker. You have no fucking clue. You're sponging off your fucking parents. You're living in your parents' fucking house. You haven't had to do dick in your life. You think because you go to some...
You don't know anything about me.
Washed up baby boomers that have been in university for 40 years They're professional students sucking the fucking taxpayer dry, making it more fucking bullshit, and you're there, oh, I'm fucking smarter than you. I'm going to say some intellectual fucking words to put you down and make you sound like you're losing the argument. You're a clueless fucking stupid cunt. You were born with a fucking iPhone in your hand, and quite frankly, you can't fucking pull your dick unless it comes in an iPhone app, so fuck you.
Easy, buddy.
Yeah, rational discourse here, flipping it. You need to take some deep breaths and think about what you say before you say it.
Oh, fuck off with your deep breaths, you fucking boutique yoga student fuckwad. Fucking few deep breaths. I'll see if you can take a few deep breaths after working under the hot Australian sun and it's 40 plus fucking degrees, you fucking lay hut.
Do you have a boss, God bother?
Do you have a boss? Yes, it's called the government, don't you, you statist fuck?
Well, I'm trying to ask. Yeah, I'm trying to be civil here. I mean, I don't think this is a particularly rational way of going about this. I'm asking you, do you have a boss?
Everybody has a boss, you fucking cocksucking imbecile. What the fuck else do you think?
Yeah, cut back the homophobic slurs.
Oh, shut the fuck up, you fucking low-life gutter rat. Fuck you, you little snowflake motherfucking piece of shit.
I mean, your average
Batman
in the chat is kind of
right. Owen, Batman in the chat is kind of white, right?
Saying obscenities. You're saying profanities. I mean,
hold on 1 second.
Clueless cunt. You're a fucking clueless, stupid, docile cunt.
Take some deep breaths, Godfather.
Oh, fuck off with your deep breaths, you fucking yoga fucking student. Piss off.
You're going to
Godfather. Hold on 1 second, buddy.
Roll out the phone, Matt, and just meditate more fucking socialist bullshit, you fucking imbecile. That's all you're good at doing is just imitating some fucking stupid little guru in some swampy shithole open sewer in India.
Sound.
Yeah, you can't.
Listen to how you sound, Godbrother. Take a drink of water and calm yourself.
Listen to the way that you sound. You sound like some fucking wannabe fucking member of the House of Lords when all you are is a stupid, pathetic, low-life fucking taxpayer-leeching fucking imbecile who can't even tie his own shoelaces. I bet you still have Velcro shoelaces, don't you? You strap them up with Velcro. You probably got those fucking Birkenstock fucking sandals because you do much of an imbecile to put socks on, let alone tie the shoelaces up.
Bloody hell, you need to calm down. I'm very
You need to fucking just wake the fuck up, you loud me. Calm down. I'm pissed off that my hard-earned taxes go towards financing the lazy, imbecile, fucking dead shit cunt lives of you fucking millennial fuckwads who do jack fucking shit. You read a few fucking books in university lecture and they think, oh,
as a skunk, mate. Honestly, calm yourself down. Calm yourself down. Calm yourself down, Godbrother. Take a deep breath and take a deep breath and calm yourself down.
You go, calm down. Be the bigger man. Fuck you! Fuck you and your fucking boutique Hindu bullshit! Go and shut the fuck up, you fucking scumbag!
Calm yourself down. Listen to how you sound and calm yourself down. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
Fuck you with your deep breaths, you fucking stupid fucking piece of shit! You are a fucking clueless IQ of
all right. Yeah. Have you finished? Yeah. Take a deep breath.
Yeah. Have you finished? You take a few deep breaths, cunt. When you take a few deep breaths,
listen to how you sound. Listen to how you sound. You're on the internet.
Calm down. Take a few deep breaths. Calm down. That's all you got.
You're on the internet.
That's all you got. Because when people are pissed off with your bullshit, that's all you got.
You're on the internet.
Calm down. Take a few deep breaths and calm down. We're sick of it. We're sick of you. We're sick and tired of you assholes. And the only thing you got to come back when we're fucking pissed off with your bullshit is take a few deep breaths and calm down. Take a few deep breaths and calm down.
Listen to how you sound. 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 You sound.
Listen to how you sound, you fucking dickhead. Have you fucking heard your own voice?
Listen to how you responded to anything I tried to say.
I'm fucking telling you the truth about how you sound. You sound like a fucking joke.
Yeah, right. I'm done here. This is a joke. Dead horse. You need to get better fans.
Okay, hold on.
Laughable. God bother. Sort your life out, mate. You're a loser. Adios.
Hey, wait. Well, wait. Shit. Damn it.
My life is very well sorted out. His isn't. He's 19 years of age and still fucking under his parents' roof, the cunt.
All right, Godfather. This is, Would you mind popping back out? I'm gonna try and get him back on real quick.
All right, no problems. I'll see you later.
Hey, Batman, I'm gonna try and get Owen back in here.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I disagree with what you says a hell of a lot, but he didn't deserve that. I mean, come on, God, botherer. I mean, fucking hell. Oh, do you think we've lost him?
Hold on. I'm messaging him right now.
It might help if you tell him that. I think most of the chat was on his side during that explosion.
Yeah. Let's see. All right.
I'm sorry.
Let me go ahead and bring him back in. I'm gonna. I'm gonna get Owen to come back in here for a second. Sorry. That's why I kind of wanted to wait till the end, so that.
Yeah, YouTube's doing something stupid to links so that you can't follow them.
Yeah, that's really irritating. I've been trying to. I've been every time I try and do something like that, it's always like, it's like, it's so irritating, especially when Unknown Archives is doing something on my channel and we've got like the dump going, and it's so irritating.
Just a bit. I'd have to say about Owen, like, from what I heard, he sounds like he's obviously a very intelligent. He's here.
Hey, buddy. I was trying to get a hold of the conversation, but obviously,
yeah,
I didn't get here in time.
He's quite an emotional guy.
He's passionate.
Yeah, emotional. I mean.
Go ahead, Batman. I'm going to let you. As long as you don't explode.
I'm not going to explode unless you do something to make me explode, which I don't think you're going to.
I'm going to go ahead and let you ask your question.
First of all, about God Botherer. Yeah, I think he's been kicked in the teeth by people who are basically sponges for a lot of his life, and he just goes off it when he sees people who he thinks are sponges. I don't think you're a sponger. I don't think your ideas are sound. Like I said, I do think you sound quite intelligent. You're obviously very educated.
To some degree. I mean, I'm at university now.
Yeah, because you speak with received pronunciation.
I suppose I get that from my parents, really. Yeah. Thank you. Was there? You said my points weren't sound. I suppose that's inevitable. Yeah. I'm coming onto a right-wing channel, so I'm naturally going to be of the.
I would say I'm right-leaning, middle of the road on what you call a classical liberal, not a modern liberal. I wonder though, your ideal society, which I've heard you talking about, how would you pay me for my labour? How would you inspire me to get out of my pit every morning and go and do a hard day's work?
Okay. Well, let's start. What is your occupation? What job do you have currently, if you don't mind me asking?
Currently, I'm unemployed, but that's neither here nor there. My question doesn't matter whether I'm a doctor or a ditch digger.
Yeah, sure. I understand. Like, where's the incentive? And to that, I mean, firstly, we have to consider that humanity is moving to the point where technology can replace the labor that humans once put in. So, for instance, imagine like a dockyard, which was once, thousands of workers having to lug cargo around. It would take ages doing anything. To today, where we have these massive machines that can lift, billions worth of goods daily, and have one person, controlling it all.
In the first, I'll agree. Because in the first world, the labour market is moving more towards the service industry. Like carers for the elderly or the infirm. Yeah, people working in shops, hotels, bars. Yeah, people who work with people rather than work in factories. That's getting more to that kind because of automation. You're right, but still, you need incentive to go out to work.
Sorry,
you've got to incentivize people to go out to work. You've got to make it worth their while.
Oh, of course, there's got to be incentives. But firstly, there's fewer jobs that's going to be needed. So, not everyone needs to be working. And secondly, like, money is not the only reason people do things. I mean, under this society, yeah, of course, because even under this society, don't sell. Oh, if you just let me finish the second.
Sorry.
No worries. If you don't sell your labor, you don't have access to a living. You don't have access to food, land. You can't pay rent. You got nothing to pay it with. So of course, people want more money in this society because it's a form of security. It prevents you from having to be in the dire circumstances that lie at the bottom of society. However, in a post-capitalist society where people are not acting to further their own capital, but are acting for their own enjoyment or benefit of society, or just communally, you don't see that. So, for instance, people can explore the things they want to do because they want to do them, because they either want to get better at it, or because they want to continue helping society, or because it's just something they want to do. Like there's like, for instance, why would we be on this hangout here if we we're only driven by money? Like when we're not getting paid for this.
Most of those things, to improve yourself, you've got to go somewhere to do those, like art. You want to improve yourself with art. You've got to go and learn art, and to do that, you have to pay tuition fees. Even in a lot of the old communist countries, you had to pay for stuff, and the main reason most of the communist countries failed was because people just didn't have the money. People were literally starving on the streets. This is very true in Venezuela at the moment, and like I said in the chat, China, the only surviving communist superpower in the world, has adopted some very capitalistic practices. I mean, Shanghai is their shining example city, and that's always been part of communist China, and it is run very much like an American business center, and that's the other reason why they wouldn't renew the lease on Hong Kong to the United Kingdom, because Hong Kong was a successful Western trade center, and to feed their people, to grow an economy, China needed to adopt capitalistic attitudes. Yes, I will agree. Too much capitalism is a bad thing. Capitalism, run rampant, is disastrous. The same thing for socialism, run rampant, is disastrous. You've got to be able to marry the two. Capitalistic nature, from how I understand the world, I'm talking from 54 years of experience here. A capitalistic society, to a greater or less degree, reflects human psychology very well. A communist society does not at all. If you understand what I mean.
I see where you're coming from. A few things I'd like to address. Sorry, I just wanted to interject myself, actually. Godbrother says, the Nazis were right. They were sick of being controlled by the banks who were run by the chosen ones. I mean, if that doesn't just spell out what kind of person...
Yeah, he actually means the Australians when he says the chosen ones.
Still, the Nazis were right. That's a good look, isn't it? But anyway, what I was saying, so a few things. Firstly, it's good that you recognise that capitalism in its purest form is, not a good idea. The idea that anything can be a transaction, anything can be a commodity to profit off, anything can be commodified to, help someone's capital increase. We don't want a society of pure that. However, a mix of capitalism and socialism, or what we I suppose call social democracies that we see in like Western Europe today, they still run on capitalism predominantly. They're still, private property. They're still the
Yes, but
of life.
yeah.
I'm coming to a more focused point for you to respond to in a second.
Sorry.
So you've got to look at we look at society today and see that as capitalism continues to exist, people are going to want to continue growing because as profits has to be continuous under capitalism for you to maintain your capital, your power. And as growth is not, you can't just continually grow and grow. You have to derive less strict views on what is acceptable to profit off. So, for instance, we
I
can
disagree.
look at neoliberalism in the 80s and stuff in the UK, and see that where once was drawn a line, capitalism, was able to take over more stuff. So, like transportation and stuff, energy grids, stuff that is basic stuff for the survival of society and the helpfulness of society for people, turned into a profit-making machine to the detriment of most people and the benefit of the profits of a few. And the environment, it's well known that pouring fossil fuels and having an energy system based on non-renewable sources is not a good way to run society. It's damaging to the environment. It's not a good long-term plan. It's harmful to local environment, and it causes you can see the warfare that's been fought over oil, for instance. Why does it happen then continuously? Because profits matter more than all else. Profits determine the way our society runs, and subsequently, there's the real threat of ecological disaster looming in the near future. We can continue on and on, like Antarctica, and in a few years' time, I think Antarctica's neutral treaty. Well, I can't remember the specific words right now, but essentially, rule that prevents people from mining for oil in Antarctica is going to expire. Now, the best thing to do would be to, be obvious. No, let's not, desecrate an entire continent in our ever ongoing pursuit for resources. The capitalist, however, is going to say, oh, well, there's oil there. We can make money from this. We want to improve our capital and, get more. So let's do it. Environment be damned. And
I kind of disagree there.
If I could interject.
What's going to happen, though? If I'd just like to finish talking along this thread to Batman. But you disagree, yeah. But what do you think is going to happen? It doesn't matter how many laws you put in place.
Yes, it does matter how many laws are put in place because at the end
they're going to get bypassed.
At the end of the day, the government that any given company or corporation the government of the home country that any given company or corporation comes from is more powerful than a company or corporation. They can seize assets. Legally. If a company or corporation breaks the law, environmental law included. Plus, there are a lot of big-name companies and corporations that are trying to curb their effects on the ecology and the environment.
But
plus, another thing is you're on about profits. Profits is basically. It's the paper version of resources, and even in an entirely socialist society, you're going to be looking for resources. So, being human, really, you cannot escape capitalism. You can temper it, but you can't escape it.
I feel as though really this format of discussion is almost a little bit flawed because there's so much being said, really. There's so many points you raised, Batman, which I want to address.
Well, that's what I was trying
to a more simplistic frame of reference.
That's why I was trying to keep things kind of at concise, smaller points, and then we can kind of expand from there. Because when you have a tendency to respond in like paragraphs with lots of points in them.
Well, you got to, haven't you? You got it's more nuanced than just why A because B.
I know, but sometimes you can expand on things afterwards.
Yeah,
it's just a good skill to have.
the point I was going to
one thing I was going to bring up earlier.
Word. Sorry.
Actually, two things. One thing, Vivellini or Batman or whatever you want to be called, brought up is there's the motivation factor that and the fact that capitalism sort of is it fits in with the way that basic biology, like the way that everything works, it just naturally. It's just a more natural.
That's just not true, though, is it?
It's not the way the socialist system that you're talking about is an unnatural way for humans to live.
That's just not true.
Do you know the best way to ruin somebody's life?
No, I don't know. What's the best way to ruin someone's life?
Give them everything they want and need.
Well,
it is.
Human beings are literally at their best when they're struggling to overcome obstacles.
And the way we know that's true, Owen, is because of some of the things that you point out. You're like, such and such. Look at this rich person. They've been given everything their entire life. I'm like, this is exactly what he's saying. But it doesn't just apply to rich people. It applies to anybody.
It's especially true for young people.
Yeah. Anytime you're just given things, or you're just allowed, anytime you don't have to work for things, value is decreased. Like there's no, when you don't, if your parents gave you a car and they didn't make you pay for the gas or pay for anything, basically, you're gonna probably treat that car like shit. You're probably going to trash it and, keep it nasty. You're not going to wash it all the time. Unless it's like a sports car. I mean, then maybe if you're trying to impress the lady folk or the dude folk, if that's what you're into. So there's that. And there's one thing I wanted to actually mention, because there's have been socialist societies that you're like what you're talking about. And the first one that comes to mind is what happened in the colonies back in the day. They actually,
Which colonies?
American colonies. They basically were given and divided land for each person in each household. They got their own little. They were given their own houses, and they were told to basically farm communally, do everything communally. And
they were told to.
Well, I mean, that's how they were supposed to do, because that they were, they're Christian, or like, that's what they did. So basically, what ended up happening?
They had a church.
Well, yeah, but everybody was religious, so it's irrelevant.
They had religious leaders.
Well, yeah, but it's
so
like I said,
socialist then.
Well, they didn't have a church because they were
people telling them what to do. So how can you say?
Listen.
You can't be socialist and have religion.
They were Quakers, is what I was trying to say. So they didn't have necessarily a church, because Quakers don't have a church.
They had a hierarchy, though. Yes.
That's not how Quakers work.
But they had but the society you're depicting here, they had a hierarchy. Yes.
No, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. Think of them like Amish people. Is basically what they were. But instead of so they did everything communally, and they nearly starved to death. And so basically, what ended up happening is the guy they ended up, or I'm not sure if it was like a governor or whatever, but basically he split up the land and told everybody to do what they want, and they would, basically they kind of switched over to this, grow as much as you want, do as much as you want kind of system, rather than what's yours is mine and mine is yours, type of thing. And they basically prospered, the following year, rather than starving to death and almost eating like dogs and fucking shit like that.
Oh, Venezuela.
Is Venezuela socialist?
Yeah, well, Yeah, yes,
So
it is.
what is so? Let's what is socialism then, Batman.
Venezuela is supposed to be. Yeah, they declare themselves a socialist country.
So
Yeah,
that's, well, okay. So
that's
North
starting.
Korea declares itself a democracy. Does that make it a democracy?
Well, North Korea
Well,
thinks
they're
it's
a
a
republic,
democracy.
but yeah.
No, but they would,
Everybody in North Korea is allowed to vote.
yes, but does it make it a democracy?
Yeah, but they're only allowed to vote for one person.
So it's not a democracy, yeah. We can see that. So we can establish that countries that just call themselves automatically make
Venezuela
or something.
did take on socialist
So,
doctrines.
no,
and
so describe
ideology.
socialism. What is socialism then? Describe it.
Well, socialism, I understood it. It's hard to pin down. It's different for one person to the other, but
There's a
as
set
I understand it, it's very similar to communism. There's no government per se, but there is a government, if you know what I mean.
There's no government, but there's not a government. There's no government in either of those things. And certainly not in the sense of the state.
Socialism.
Give us a specific integral part of it. What's the integral part of both socialism and communism?
Well, let's see. I was put from each person to each person gives the state what the state needs, and each person receives from the state what they need.
Not the state per se, but that's actually a quote from Marx. What's the word you're looking for is, or the phrase you're looking for is, the workers own the means of production and the abolition of private property. Do you agree? Yeah, you see that's the main thing.
That's correct. Yeah? That's what it is. And
so, was that the case in Venezuela?
Apparently so. Yes, that's what I read.
No, they're not apparently so. Did the workers own the means of production in Venezuela?
They tried, I think.
But did they?
From what I remember, they tried. It failed.
But they didn't try though, because the state never handed any power to the workers. In fact, they still had a private sector. In fact, when Venezuela's economy was doing well, many newspapers and outlets in the West were saying, "Oh, Venezuela is an example of what capitalism can do to a lower economically developed nation." And then it started failing, and then they started calling it socialism.
No, actually,
yes,
what they said was,
find you the articles in which
they said was, this is what socialism is. This is why it's so great.
Yeah,
and then it failed.
They said it was about capitalism.
They praised.
We're getting sidetracked.
We are getting sidetracked.
But anyway, let's put that away. Because
but can you see though that the country is clearly not socialist if it fails to make the basic tenets of the system?
But here's the point.
Here's the point. Can you answer the question? Can you see that it's not? It is Venezuela socialist.
Well, yeah. There's no perfect socialist society. There's no perfect capitalist society either. So
no, that's not answering the question. Is Venezuela socialist?
Well, they are moving in the direction of becoming socialist, if that's what you're at.
They still had private property. They didn't have work.
No, but what I'm saying is when you have state socialism, when you have like a state communism, like a state socialism, basically what you're doing is you're starting to nationalize industries. You're nationalizing industries, and
not what socialism is. Do you see the problem here? You don't. Neither of you appear able to recognize or even speak about the system you are critical of.
Listen, hold on. Hold on. I got this.
Can I put a point in here?
Quickly, yes.
The thing is, we're talking politics, and when you're on about things like socialism, communism, capitalism, there are so many. It's like talking about Christianity. There are so many different varieties of the same thing out there. What you describe as socialism, where some of the person who believes they're socialist will come around and say, "No, you're wrong. It's like this." There are so many different types.
What I was trying to say.
There's still the core themes, though, of worker ownership and control of society, which is clearly not present in Venezuela.
Which is what I was trying to explain.
There are some forms of socialism that do have private property and state.
That's not socialism. What socialism is private property?
Look at the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic.
Yeah, not socialist. Stalin was a very good propagandist who lied about pretty much everything and was clearly not following the tenets
what
of
I'm trying to explain is what the state is doing is taking over an industry to give back to the people, to basically take over that industry. right? That is state socialism. That is
That's not true, 'cause
state
that's not-
communism.
The socialist, like the state, is not the same as workers. Workers are the only people who can, manage society.
The
under
people, yes,
socialism.
the people is what we're talking about.
No, workers are the only
the-
people who can do the work. People who can manage society, the people who've been trained to manage society, and that's not the workers.
Of course, it is.
And
Why
I could-
can't workers self-manage?
Look, I'm from a working class family. All my friends, all my family, working class, and I can tell you, working class people are not trained. Yeah, I'm not saying we're not intelligent enough. We're just never been in the position to get to have the training and education to run a state.
Well, I mean, firstly, we're not saying that, like, literally you've been plucked from your home and said, right, you're going to work out how to configure the entire energy grid of like Western Europe. Like, no one's saying that.
Oh, you're not proposing some Maoist nonsense.
The whole, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, each according to their ability, to each according to their need.
Yes.
Everyone can contribute in the way that they are, most capable of, and those who do not have the capability of, contributing in that way, that's fine too. Life has intrinsic value, and secondly,
That's something that you'll find.
Even if there's someone who isn't who's a good leader and good at thinking about this stuff, they still need the labor of everyone else in society to have their place in society. The boss of McDonald's or Starbucks, they need the labor of everyone else in the company for their corporation to exist.
But
so they should not have the wealth that they do. They shouldn't have billions upon the labor of everyone else.
But it all boils back to my initial question. How are you going to inspire people to go out and work to maintain society? I mean, no private property. That means you don't own your house. You don't own the things in your house.
Do you own your house now?
You don't even. No, I rent it, but everything in it I own.
So you don't own your house now. So already we've you don't own your house, which isn't true of pretty much most people in capitalism. Like, do you look at?
There's all kinds of people that own their house. But anyway,
I just said I own everything in it. But on the socialist music, I wouldn't even own the computer I'm using now. The cat which is pestering me for food, that wouldn't be mine. It would be
when we talk about private property, we talk about vast sections of land portioned off for wealthy people to own. We're not talking about the individual pen on your desk or something, or people like I said, people.
Can I ask you another question? You get some guy, right? Worked hard all of his life, and he gets to a point where he can afford, literally buy a country estate by dint of his own efforts of work, right? You're saying he should not be allowed to do that, even though he's worked hard for it.
I mean, that's not really. Why should his existence come at the detriment of everyone else's? For one,
how's it coming?
And
what detriment? What happens? Let's put it this way: what happens if someone already owns this land and they want to sell it to?
How do you own land?
Because you purchased it.
And how? Who did
I know.
And they purchased it.
How did they get their land?
I know what you mean.
And they purchased it.
You have
and how did they get their land?
Let's rephrase it then. He has stewardship over it.
Stewardship.
Yeah, it's his. It's his for a time. Obviously, it's not going to be his for the rest of his life. But yeah, what happens on that piece of land is up to him.
Why does firstly, why does one person need a massive sprawling country estate?
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
If you worked hard for something,
if I want a yacht, and I'm like, okay, well, I worked all my life. I've made money. I've made other people money. I've given lots of money away. I've employed all these people, enriched their lives by employing them and teaching them new trades and how to do new things. If I want to buy a yacht with that money, I'm going to those people who build the yacht, they're going to get paid for that. That means they're going to live a little bit better life. That means that, I'm gonna have more fun. I'm gonna buy more gas. I'm gonna get that gas or whatever, biodiesel I want to get from the gas station, who's owned by some immigrant who's gonna make extra money from being able to sell that. I mean, not a huge profit, but if I go there enough and I'm out, strolling around the lake in my big ass yacht, then how what I'm asking is,
listen to what you're saying, though. Like
you listen to what I'm saying. You don't have an open mind. Your mind is closed because
this is wrong. I know what society.
Not wrong. What I'm saying is every time that you employ someone, you're enriching. Well, I mean, not every time.
Enriching.
Yes. Okay.
You're
so
taking
literally,
their labor, profiting off it, and then handing them less than what they worked for. You're essentially sitting at the top.
So when I started out working, I had no skills whatsoever. I didn't.
Just to cut you off, sorry. I'm going to go soon because it's quite late here. So.
Okay.
Not to be bad or anything. Just
let me explain. So when I started out, I had no skills whatsoever. I didn't know how to basically. Each job that a person has, they can use that job to help them along and learn and be more productive and be a better worker. And they can basically by the employer giving someone a shot, they enrich the person's life by training them, by helping them to be better. They know they're not going to be there forever. So in the meantime, just do this work for me, and, I'll pay you to do it. And then, eventually you're going to leave, but I'd like you to stay. Maybe you'll be a manager someday. So basically every single place I've ever worked, I've learned a new, not necessarily a whole new job, but a new trait, like a new thing that I didn't know how to do. I've done everything from fast food, waitering, tech stuff, warehouse jobs, hands-on labor. I've done live performances, anything you can think of. But every single time I added a new skill to my repertoire, and what I guess what I'm trying to get at is you seem to believe that when you employ someone, you're stealing from them. But a lot of times they don't have anything to steal. They're not a polished product.
Right, okay. I feel as though this discussion is always going to be quite flawed when you don't seem to understand the framework I'm talking about. We're not talking about stealing a physical thing. We're talking about,
I know. I'm saying you're saying that they're underpaying a person because
it's not about underpaying.
You're stealing their labor. You're framing it as
they're profiting off their labor, right?
Well, of course, that's how you have. That's how.
It's not how. Why does one person need to profit at the detriment of everyone?
It's not one person, and it's not to the detriment, is what I'm trying to explain to you. No, it isn't.
It's a detriment. So what you think?
How many jobs have you had in your life?
Sorry?
How many jobs have you had in your life?
Well, none full time because I'm a student, part-time stuff. But
okay, well, what I'm trying to explain to you is as you go on and as you learn new things, you become a better person.
Space in the chat.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Communist in space in the chat.
Well, maybe is he an actual communist or is he just?
He is. He was actually subscribed to me, and then he realized that I wasn't a communist.
He's a Marxist. Owen, he's a Marxist fanboy.
He is
fanboy.
Yeah.
So he's just a Marxist fan. Maybe you can swap one. Maybe you can swap me for him or her or them. Or
well, I've got a question for you. In all seriousness,
but you get what I was saying.
You're a socialist society, right? There's no state. That means there's no government, right?
Yeah.
So how do things get done?
How do things get done?
Yeah.
Workers. Well, when we say workers, I mean people who do labor. Yeah. So the people who can think about society, because it's not like there's going to be no one at all. all that changes is that there's not the tiered, political body that gives itself power and gives itself the authority over everyone else.
It doesn't. We give it power.
You give it
People
power.
give it power. Yes, the people give it power.
What do you think protects private property today? What do you think stops people from saying, no, it's not fair for this business owner to own all this land?
I can explain that, but I'm going to be debating that tomorrow. So
the police,
if you guys all want to come back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, I'll be talking to
do you know what most
liberal sanity project
people think about? Why they go to work, why they work hard, why they put up with really crap jobs or even good jobs that they just don't like. It's not for the country, it's not for society, it's for their families. In your world, where there's no government, nothing like that, workers aren't going to be bothered about, oh, hey, the roads need fixing. Yeah, but I've got this deal with this guy to get some food for my family, so fuck the roads.
What? Right. Okay, so again, we're ignoring the fact that society is at a point where, we don't need everyone working. Secondly, you're talking about how, people need to be working to do stuff for their families, but, what about the wealthy? What have they done? What are they doing to work for their families? I mean, because you can't seriously be telling me that the people who own multi-billion corporations are actually, doing the paperwork and stuff. No, they've, of course, delegated these roles to managers and people below them.
Yeah, but they don't actually do work.
Most of these people were CEOs.
I think I explained.
The vast majority of people were CEOs.
Hold on one second, Batman.
Hold on, let me finish this.
Okay.
They've had to work literally their asses off.
They were in the factories where their labour, where they get to pay their workers.
No, they haven't worked in the factories, but they've still had to work.
Some of them, actually.
So their billions. So their billions are generated through, exploitation of labour.
Let's take one of the most famous ones, Alan Sugar, right? You know Alan Sugar.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He started off as a barrel boy on the west, in the East End of London.
Yeah, no, I know. Who made the computers? That he sold?
He was a multi-millionaire before then.
What did he start out selling?
He sold everything and anything.
Okay, well, are you telling me he made it all himself and got the materials himself and delivered the materials to
obviously
That's
not.
It's impossible. You're right. It is impossible to do that.
He started off, with nothing.
How is it okay to ignore the labour of everyone who came before them to then pretend that just because he was the person in that moment deserves to have millions at the expense of everyone who came before?
What do you mean deserves? Though?
What do you mean at the expense?
Okay, so you
to get the goods, he's got to pay for them, right? That means somebody's profiting off his need.
Not the ones who did it, though. Not the people who.
Yes, they are, because the people who made the things are profiting because they get paid to make them.
You're telling no, they're not. They're not getting the produce of their labour. So the reason people, at the top of Apple and Samsung and stuff can be worth billions, it's because of the suppression of workers at the other end. Do you think people in sweatshops in, Far East Asia and stuff are receiving any profits for their labour?
Well,
they're fundamental to the whole process. They're being treated like cattle.
They're either earnings. I disagree with the sweatshop thing, but
why do you think it's still a thing?
At the moment, I can't do anything about it. Give me the power to do something about it, and I would. But
that doesn't change the fact that it's wrong, and the cause of it is because of capitalism. You can see that.
I'm going to interrupt here because I'm losing control here.
Anyway, so thank you for having me, Horse, and nice speaking to you, Batman. If you want to quickly say what you're going to say, Horse. But,
no, I was just going to say that the situations in those sweatshop factories are more to do with the places where they are, and less to the places. I mean, less with the places who actually employ them. A lot of times, and I know this because I used to work. I've worked for computer places, so I know exactly what the conditions are like, and it's not necessarily that. it's not necessarily that the computer companies themselves have all of the say so in those particular conditions. Because when listen, they don't. Okay, so like so think about any other than Apple, because I don't know a lot about Apple. Any of the basic like Dell, HP, Toshiba, any of those places, all of them get their basic. They ask for a basic, like a motherboard, and the companies will compete and ask for, like, okay, we'll make you this motherboard, and another will say, yeah, we need this hard drive, and we need to go this fast, and then certain companies will be like, okay, we'll make that for you. Well, they don't necessarily know which companies are making what and what. I mean, for instance,
that doesn't matter. They still profit off it, therefore they're still culpable in that process, and their profits are still derived from
what I'm
process.
saying is it's less to do with the companies themselves as it is to the subcontractors in the other countries that that don't have the regulation.
There is another factor in this as well. A lot of these countries where we've got what we call sweatshops, the people who are working in those places, they're actually, for the country they're working in, they're earning a good wage.
It's true.
For the countries they work in.
That is true. And they work themselves to death.
Yeah.
And then, they go crazy and try to jump out of the windows. But I mean, it's not like, so like, for instance, if like HP, they're and somebody making an HP hard drive who also makes hard drives for pretty much everyone else, decides, someone at that other company that's not even related to HP just decides to jump out the window. It's not HP's problem. It's not HP as it's not them. It's not their employee, is what I'm saying. It's a subcontracted thing in a different country, who won't give their.
They're happy to take the profit they make, and the profit is based
won't
on
give that. They won't give their employees any breaks or anything. And one thing I do know a lot about is, so for instance, I know a guy who owns a small like import guitar company, right? And what he does is he designs these guitars, right? And he has them made in certain places. And what he can do, I mean, this is something that a lot of good, there's good capitalists that do these things. That's a thing about guitar companies that is a little different than computers, is that they're not all made in China. So he makes his in Korea, and he makes his other ones in Indonesia. Now he personally goes and checks out the factories and sees the working conditions and makes sure they're, acceptable and stuff like that. But when it comes to these bigger corporations where a lot of these products can only be produced in places like China, because they have the ability to get these rare earth materials that we're not allowed to mine for in like the USA to make these screens and different parts of the computer. They basically, the companies themselves have to use the Chinese labor, or they have to figure out some way of making the product cheap without made in in the USA. It's basically impossible to do. So because they can't get any of these products anymore, because basically we've made it impossible for them to do so. So it's a lot more complicated than you're making it sound like. They're just slavery, and
it all stems back to the fact that capitalism is about making profits. So,
plus, you yourself are profiting of the work of others. Maybe it's not financially, but how much do you spend? How much do you spend on clothing? Let's say a year.
I completely agree with you. I don't need to go into the details, but absolutely everything in our lives is, involved in capitalism. that doesn't mean that capitalism is good all of a sudden, because
No, but what he's
It's neither good nor bad. It
it's
just
bad. There's no. We could still have computers without having people in Southeast Asia treated.
who's going to make them.
Sorry.
Well, it's my point that some of these jobs are shitty, and they're some of these jobs that are shitty and
come on, they're forced into making them because if they don't, they have no means of selling their labor and they starve and die.
They choose that over. They choose to go there because they would rather do that than work in the fields as a farmer or in a steel plant where they have to be exposed to more dangerous shit. What I'm saying is,
that's not a good thing, though, is it? Oh yeah, you get the choice between working in a sweatshop or working in a steel plant and working in a field. And bearing in mind, steel plants and fields, they're things that can be automated because machines do physical work.
Do you have a point? They can be automated. The point is that you move up.
You don't move up. You're telling me the sweatshop workers. Anyway, look, I've already said
you gain more skills, and you can use those skills to leave and go do something else.
You think sweatshop workers are going to be given the capacity? Do you think it's in the best interest of the wealthy Anyway, I'm going to go from now. We're going to discuss this another time. Adios.
As you're going, I will say this. I disagree with just about everything you said, but at least I can disagree with respect.
All right. Well,
that's a compliment, by the way.
In a communist in space, if you want to hop in here and if you're still here, you're more than welcome to pop in. Hey, what's up, Staggers and Jags? What's going on, buddy? You're more than welcome to pop in too. I don't know if that Hangout link will work, but you're more than welcome to attempt it. If not, my Hangout link should be in my Discord. So, you did miss Godbother exploding, which was amusing. But no, what I was trying to explain was that he's so close-minded to the idea that
of course he is. He's 19.
And you really, that's like the time where you're like, when you grab onto an idea, you're like, I have to, this is the thing. This is, and I have to be as in your face about it as I can, because I learned about this thing, and I was kind of that way too. But not with socialism. And it took me a little while longer. So, anyway, no. What I was trying to explain, I was like, just you have to learn how to do a job before you go to do another job that's better. Communist in Space says he hasn't embraced Marxist-Leninism yet. So, yeah, I was trying. He was like, no, they're stealing the labor from them. I'm like, no, their labor isn't worth it. I mean, their labor isn't worth anything if they don't know how to do a job. I mean, it's pretty much pointless. Unholy Mole, you're more than welcome to come and hang out too. I think I might just end this one and start just a general hangout stream here in a second, because this kind of fizzled out.
The funny thing is, even though I disagree with literally everything he says, I can respect the lad, and he does come across as an intelligent and likable person.
It's in the Discord. I might just stop this one, and I'm gonna maybe stop this and restart a new stream, just because that way someone will actually watch the stream instead of just being on here they're like, what? How long is this fucking stream? This is absurd. I'm not gonna watch a debate this long. This is stupid. But anyway, I'm going to start a new stream, and then I will toss the Hangout link on my Discord. So if you're in my Discord, just check out the Discord real quick, and I will post the link there. Thanks everybody for watching, and goodbye.
Bye.